Four ordinary guys with extraordinary ideas for Disney parks. This is Main Street Musings,
the experimental podcast of tomorrow.
That's right, everybody. Welcome back to Main Street Musings, the experimental podcast of tomorrow. Joining me live from the penthouse, it is Eric.
Yo, yo.
Calling in from the honeymoon suite, and we got Tanner.
Hey there.
And from the broom closet next to catering, it is Jake.
Hey there, hi there, ho there.
And I am Brock. That's right, everybody. If you haven't guessed, we're doing it again. Resort hotels.
Yeah.
It's a big part of the Disney experience. We did it once, and we thought, why not do it one more time?
It's a sequel.
To Squeakwool, we've been over this.
Oh, sorry, I f***ed it up already. We're only
Resorts
45
to
seconds into the podcast.
Resort hotels
Back in the
to
habit.
Die Harder.
The Squeakwool.
Die harder.
Die harder. So it should be fun. We're talking about, the full hotel resort experience. For those that did not listen, shame on you, to our first resorts episode. Jake, you want to go over a little bit about just a very brief overview of the tiers of resorts and
Sure.
An example of each?
Well, so I'm not as familiar with Disneyland resorts, and I don't know if they work the same way. I'm more familiar with the Walt Disney World resorts. And at Walt Disney World, you have 3 tiers of resort. You have at the lower end of the price scale, you have the value resorts, they're called. These are going to be like your all-star hotels. You've got all-star music, all-star sports. They're considered to be lower quality. They are a lot cheaper than staying at the other hotels, but it's still a Disney hotel. You're still going to have a good time. Then you have your mid-range hotel, which are called your moderate. Those are more like your Caribbean Beach or your cabins at Fort Wilderness. That's, again, middle quality, middle price range. And again, when I'm talking about quality, I mean, it's Disney quality. This is even the low quality is good quality. And then at the very top of the price range, you have deluxe, which includes hotels like the Contemporary or the Polynesian or the Grand Floridian.
Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Animal Kingdom Lodge, exactly. And a lot of things get factored into what makes those hotels what they are. It's not just the quality, it's also location. A lot of the ones I just named are on the Magic Kingdom monorail loop, or Brock just named Animal Kingdom Lodge that is like directly next to Animal Kingdom. So proximity to the parks factors into that price range as well.
Thank you, Jake.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. So there's like 2 main Disneyland ones. There's a Disneyland Hotel and the Grand Californian. The Grand Californian would be a luxury,
Yeah.
and the Disneyland Hotel would probably be a value. So
Yes.
there is no mid-tier
Okay.
at the Disneyland complex. But who knows? Maybe after today, we just might have one of those.
That being said, in terms of quality, that might be on par, but from the little bit I've looked into it, both of the Disneyland hotels, price-wise, are pretty close to the deluxe hotels at Disney World.
Yeah.
They are much more expensive to stay
Because
at.
they both
but I
have
think
that
that's just
walk
California
to the
in general.
park aspect, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. And it's California versus Florida, which is
Right.
going to have its own.
How dare you insinuate that maybe California would be more pricey than Florida? Just because Florida doesn't have the Florida Adventure Disney theme park does not make it any less, Eric.
I don't think that was a dig at Florida. I think that was a dig at California.
I mean, having spent time in both, it's a dig at both of them, honestly.
Well, okay, yeah.
Are we ready to go, boys?
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
All right. Brock, you're first today.
I'm first. Hot diggity. Well, so when we did the Autopia episode, I had the idea to change it, convert it into a Jules Verne themed area called the Mysterious Island. Looking back at it, I do think that would have been neat, but I think it actually works better as a resort. So what we would do is we would create obviously a mysterious island, a lush tropical island within the Disney property that would be home to a resort. And much like a lot of the resorts on Disney property, it would be different buildings, each with their slightly different theming, each with their slightly different idea, and what they bring to the resort. So what I was hoping to do is create this large, gorgeous, lush tropical island with a large volcano in the middle, but fill the island with interesting steampunky buildings and contraptions. And we'd have areas within this island representing different Jules Verne works. So I was thinking a 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea style hotel area. It would be the Nautilus, kind of parked next to the island where you could, or docked would be probably the correct word there. But you would enter the Nautilus and you'd have these rooms with portholes what looks like portholes looking out into the water that would actually probably use the screen technology from inside the Disney cruise ships.
Yeah.
So that would be one thing. And then you'd see very interesting things floating by these portholes.
I'm sorry, Brock. So just to be clear, are you pitching an underwater hotel?
No, I am not. I am not.
I was going to say,
I saw Eric's face, and I was like, wait a minute.
I'm pitching a portion of a resort that looks like it's an underwater hotel.
Okay. Carry on. I'm sorry to interrupt.
I still have thoughts.
I also think it'd be really interesting.
Sounds ambitious.
Yes, this is going to be an ambitious resort, but in a level of ambition that does not border on insanity.
I don't know. Seems a little unaffordable.
Do you guys want me to pitch, or just like...
Honestly, at this point, I don't know if you want the answer to that question.
So that would be the...
Oh, but wait, there's a guy dancing around in his underwear.
Okay. The Nautilus.
I don't get what Jake's doing. So yeah, and then what we would have also is an opening. That was the 20,000 Leagues. We would have an opening into the center of the volcano, into the caldera, and that would kind of be where the lobby is. You would go down through the lobby area into our journey to the center of the earth area. This is where we're going to have restaurants and arcades and interesting things, all looking like you're down in the center of the earth with beautiful, magnificent, glowing geodes and crystals, and it looks really interesting. Have a cool restaurant, club, cafe aesthetic, all that stuff goes down in the center of the earth. And then we have, of course, smaller steampunk hotel buildings, much like they have at the Moderates, where there's smaller buildings with the outdoor entrances that would kind of go around the volcano. So you'd be able to look out the window, obviously, of your room. But on the back wall of your room, there would be windows, in quotes, that look like they're looking into the lava flowing through the volcano. Create some really interesting features, make the rooms seem kind of stone rocks, but also with a steampunk aesthetic. And then finally, I would like to add this to the new Skyliner route that is in Disney World. The Skyliner is a new form of transportation, a little similar to the monorail. But what I would do with it here is the Skyliner station at the Mysterious Island Resort would be themed after From the Earth to the Moon. So it would be a large cannon, and it looks like the Skyliner cars are shooting out of the cannon. And that's my pitch.
Nice. Very cool.
Neato game.
I like it.
Yeah, it should be fun. I am up next today. I don't have... Mine will be much shorter than Brock's.
Yeah, sorry, I went over.
It's a hotel.
Remember when we pitched this idea initially as we would do like a minute-long pitch?
Yeah, an elevator pitch.
Yeah, well,
3.5 minutes.
I was going to say to be fair, but I don't have an excuse. I just so frequently forget to put a lot of the stuff that I really like in my pitch, so I was like, screw it, I'm putting everything in my pitch today.
Yep.
So now we don't have anything else to talk about.
No, that's not.
Okay, good to know.
No.
I'll just go ahead and preface the Q&A section with, I don't have anything for Brock. I know everything I need to know. So for my resort, I went through a lot of different things for this. I through this learned that the Cone Motel from Cars is based on a real place, so I couldn't do that, which was pretty shitty.
The Wigwam Motel along Route 66. There's actually
two of
several
them, yeah.
Shout out to the Ramblers for traversing.
YouTube.com/The Ramblers88.
So after flipping through a bunch of things in my mind, I came up with something I think would be a ton of fun, and that is Scrooge McDuck's mansion, made into its own hotel.
Nice.
So it's got that, giant sort of almost castle-y feel to it. It's set up on a hill, and you drive up or like limoed up, like you would drop your car off to be valeted to the parking lot, and you would like get a little lift up into the mansion. It would feature the pool full of money that you could dive into. That seems like fun. But so yeah, I'm kind of imagining it as like a mid-tier resort that's poking fun at like the luxury.
Okay, nice.
So there's like giant dollar signs everywhere, and things are made out of like this faux gold, and it's all very kind of like Scrooge McDuck in that kind of sense. The only thing that I have set in stone is I would want the like attractions on site as like a set of escape rooms featuring Huey, Dewey, and Louie that were all kind of interconnected, and that would be like one wing of the mansion. Another wing would be rooms that you can stay in, and we can figure out restaurants and all that at a later time. So yeah, but that's just generally my pitch is Scrooge McDuck's mansion. I love it at Disneyland. There's not really space for it. That's part of the reason why there is no mid-tier or other resorts there is they've just fucking used every inch of space.
Especially now that they're expanding.
Yeah, I don't know how they're doing that.
Well, right now they're just petitioning for a future opportunity for it. But maybe this hotel will sway them.
Yeah. This is the thing. The city of Anaheim's going to be like, we've pushed against this for years, but now that they're doing the Scrooge McDuck thing.
And we know that Eric Hand loves corporate expansion. So he'd love for that to be his legacy.
He's very excited about creating this temple honoring the greatest capitalist of all time,
Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be funny to have that as like not a luxury, but like a mid-tier that's poking fun is kind of like the thing that I'm looking to get out of the experience.
Yeah, I get it.
So yeah, that's my pitch.
Very nice. I like it.
Thank you. Next up, we have Tanner.
All right.
T-Money.
So for my pitch, I've taken inspiration from the film Inside Out, as we will be staying in a child's mind.
We're not staying in the void?
No.
Damn it.
And I know you're all ready to talk about your issues with this movie because you're all damaged 20-something adults, but I actually think this is a pretty cool idea for a movie. I am not a damaged 20-something. I think there's a lot of cool aesthetics that we could play with. My general idea was that our main building would function as like the headquarters and like where the long-term memories are stored. So I'm picturing like rolling memory balls when you walk in to check in on pipes throughout it. I'm picturing a pool and play area based on the Imagination Land where we can come up with all sort of creative like things a child would imagine to play with to kind of make that area stand out, like jungle gyms on top of like a regular pool. I'm picturing a lot of, I know the value resorts at least, I'm not sure about the other ones, they often have a movie night for families.
Most resorts
usually near the pool, but I'm picturing creating the Dream Studios, if we remember from the movie, like Riley's Dream Studio, where we would have a movie nights hosted by the Dream Director, where we'd play a movie somewhere where families could all sit together, watch, and enjoy. Each of our room buildings would be based on one of the 5 Island of Personalities core groups. So, like, for example, in the movie, there's Goofball or Hockey for Riley, but we would come up with our own that we think would be entertaining to stay in as themed areas. And finally, I would like to have the train of thought either as a way to transport guests to areas like Disney Springs or around the resort as kind of like a ride. I'm open to either idea with that, but that's in all the general idea I have.
Cool.
Awesome.
I dig it.
Yeah, very cool.
Thanks.
That leaves us. I'm still like, Tanner, that was a brilliant pitch. I really thought you were going to Bing Bong's Void there for a second.
I know. I was really
like,
prepared for everyone to
Jesus.
think that I was going to just make a joke pitch out of it, which originally I planned on doing, but then I thought about it and I was like, actually, this could be kind of fun and wacky. But Jackie did want me to also pitch a timeout area called Bing Bong's Void where bad children go when they misbehave. So we could figure out a way to work that into.
I'm already picturing like a ball pit, but all the balls are black, and it's inside, and it's just in a pitch black room, and you throw them into this ball pit.
Yes, there's a
Speaking
slide.
of, we don't do enough joke pitches anymore. Hashtag bring back the jokes.
I tried to, but then I actually came up with, I think, a good idea for it.
That's my problem, is every time I have a joke pitch, eventually I'm like, wait, no, I have a good idea instead.
Because originally I was like, the hotel rooms can be based off of fear and envy and anger. But then I came up with something that actually worked.
Well, speaking of joke pitches, be on the lookout for, I think will be our next episode. I know it's one of the next ones we're recording when we all bring in a joke pitch.
Yes.
As we destroy a Disney classic. But I won't say which one.
All right, Tanner, that was an awesome pitch. Thank you. We are moving on to the final pitch of the day, Mr. Jake Gabbert.
I thought we were done.
Hey, that's me.
I'm done.
Yeah, just like, yeah, fine, we'll just cut it. Okay, so I have several thoughts that kind of preface my idea here. So the first one is, I remember several years ago, a lot of the Disney resorts. Were you rolling your eyes, Eric?
No.
Is that what that was? Oh, okay.
Honestly, no. I was looking up at my heartburn medication, being all like, do I need some right now?
Before I listen to this do I need to still my heart?
I got Five Guys and they give you like a fucking like whole bag of fries, and I'm like,
Yeah.
do I need Tums right now? I apologize, Jake.
So anyway, several years ago, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 now, a lot of the Disney hotels were going through major refurbishments to modernize them because a lot of them had not been updated since they were built in the 80s and 90s. So what they were doing was modernizing the style, the furniture, bringing it up to current trends of today in terms of design to make it more palatable for the average person's living experience, which makes a lot more sense. It was muted colors, color palettes people like, but I remember at the time, a lot of people saying that they didn't like the fact that they felt like they were losing some of the Disney magic, some of those over-the-top colors and stuff that Disney had been known for. So my thought was, what if, because the new hotels look great. They do. They look modern. They look nice. So what if all of the hotels were kind of like that, but we had one hotel set aside that was kind of more for the Disney magic? And then I was thinking a good way we could do that in Walt Disney World would be to bring back Toontown, because Magic Kingdom and Disney World has lost their Toontown. But what if Toontown was a resort that people could stay at? And my thought is this would have a layout like the moderate resorts, where it's all outside and it's a sprawling property with lots of buildings spread across, and it would be themed around Toontown, and it could be almost like a little town, a little city. And maybe each section could be themed to a different part of the town. Where you come in, the lobby, that could be kind of like the Toontown City Hall. And the whole thing would have that very over-the-top color palette with really bright colors and no straight lines. You know, if you think about Mickey's house in Toontown, everything is those big, what's the word I'm looking for? Overemphasized shapes, and everything is very round. And I think it would be really neat to be able to stay in Toontown. I think it would be a really cool thing. I think it would be memorable for kids and adults. I know some people would not be into it. I personally would be very into it. This could give us a lot of fun opportunities to play with some classic Disney stuff while laying out a fun hotel. That's my pitch.
Cool.
Nice. I really wanted to have Roger's Sloppy Jalopy in it.
It could. Definitely.
So jumping straight into our Q&A section. Hey, Jake,
that also leads into one for me.
can we put in Roger's Sloppy Jalopy as part of your resort?
Absolutely.
Well, that actually leads into my question, which is, Is this like the Fab Five Mickey, like what we got in the park kind of Toontown, or is this a Roger Rabbit
Yes.
Toontown? Because those are two different things.
This is I'm thinking a Disney Toontown.
Okay.
To me, that is more. It's a little more broad, whereas the Roger Rabbit one. No, I guess it's hard to say. The Roger Rabbit one borders on dark at some times.
Yeah.
You know, some kind of scary stuff goes down. I've talked about before how that ride traumatized me when I was a kid. Whereas the Mickey one, I'm thinking about Mickey's house, is more like you feel safe and everything's happy and friendly. And I want this to be a place that families could enjoy and little kids could think like, wow, we got to stay in this really cool cartoon house. We lived in a cartoon for a week. How cool is that?
Yeah, there is a surrealist element to the Roger Rabbit one that maybe we lose in favor of more family friendliness.
My other question was, if this is going to be the Mickey Mouse characters, do you plan on incorporating some of the lesser used ones, like a Horace Horsecollar or a Mortimer Mouse?
Well, I don't know. That's something we can talk about.
The look of disdain that Eric has on his face as Brock utters those names is my favorite thing ever.
Why?
Horace Horsecollar is one of my favorite characters in fiction.
On brand.
Yeah, why are you upset?
Yeah, why does this upset you?
Because I don't know who the fuck those people are, and their names are ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not like Mickey Mouse
They're old school
Donald
Disney.
Duck.
Like from the original black and white Disney cartoons. They were Mickey's friends.
Okay.
It's weird that you're doing this podcast and you've never heard of either of them. Honestly, that's the weirder thing.
I was very upfront at the beginning of this podcast to be like, I am not a Disney historian or a Disney-aholic. I just like coming up with ideas for shit. And then you guys told me
fine.
You look up a picture of Horace and I bet you'll know who he is.
Over the top. And so now I'm trying to figure out the balance.
But to say, Brock, that Horace Horsecollar is one of your favorite characters in all of media is also, I think, on a different spectrum than most people.
So I have this. Yeah, no, that's fair. That is fair. I have this thing where, like, if I just like super. I get super empathetic towards forgotten IP characters. So, like, give me a Horace Horsecollar, give me a Yummy Mummy any day, and I'm just Yummy Mummy and Fruit Brute were the discontinued fruit cereals from the Monster cereal.
Count Chocula.
Yeah, so like those are my guys right there.
Cool, man.
Frankenberry.
Cool. Brock,
So
have you
anyway,
considered
back
therapy?
to.
So many times I cannot afford it.
Can I answer the question?
Yes, please.
So I had two trains of thoughts on where this could go. The first train of thought was that each section of the hotel could be themed around a different character. So like in Caribbean Beach, each section of the hotel is themed around a different Caribbean island. In my hotel, I was thinking maybe we could have a section themed after Donald and everything looks nautical and like boats. Maybe we have a section themed after Goofy where it's like Goofy's house and everything is made out of things that are not intended to be used for houses. Like I remember on his stair rail, he uses an oar, like from a paddle boat. We could have sections like that. It would be cool. Or we could do just a general different, where it all looks like toon stuff. It's not necessarily themed after specific characters, but maybe this section is more like farming stuff, and it's like the cartoon farm of Mickey's with the happy sun. Maybe this section is a little bit more like a Main Street area, but cartoony, all in that very bubbly cartoon style.
Okay.
That was my thoughts.
Cool. Didn't mean to disrupt the flow with not knowing who Horace Horsecollar was. And while yes, that puts me in the minority of people in this podcast, I feel like it might put me in the majority of human beings.
Well, Eric, we accept your apology, but don't let it happen again.
Jake, I had one more question for you.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, like, will you be incorporating character meet and greets around? Because I feel like if I was going to a Toontown, one of my expectations would be I'd be seeing characters around,
meeting the
living their
tunes,
lives.
yeah.
So generally they don't just do character meet and greets at the hotels, but they do character meals. So I would like to have that as an opportunity. I don't know that we would just want characters wandering around like they do in the parks. That could cause issues, but I really like the idea of having a restaurant. We could talk about theming. Maybe it's a restaurant that Minnie owns. I don't know. And we could do character dining there.
If this is the town that they all live in, I'm just picturing like running into Daisy while she's getting groceries. Like,
I mean, to be fair though,
And she's, like, really
if I was to
angry.
go to Toontown, that's what I would want. I'd want,
Yeah.
I'd want to see like them just doing stuff in town, like Donald
I
complaining
agree
about
that would be
traffic
cool,
flow.
but it's not practical at all.
Well, then maybe neither is your
It would be
idea.
neat.
Donald just drives
The
by
people
super
with the
pissed off
theater
about the new
degrees
speed bump.
create an immersive experience for you. We can do that. We can get there. I believe that we can convince Jake that a fully immersive Toontown.
If they're doing it in the Star
is the
Wars
way to go.
hotel that they're building, they can do it with Donnie, Minnie, and Mickey.
Did you say Donnie?
Yeah, I was getting too close to Minnie and Mickey already.
Hey,
Also, I
it's
think-
Donnie Duck.
Also, after a week there, maybe me and Donald are there. Maybe he lets me call him Donnie.
Okay, interesting. That question actually leads.
What does he call you? Does he call you Teabag?
That question actually leads into a question I have for Eric, which is how it's kind of a two-part question. One, how do you incorporate some of the characters from DuckTales, maybe a Launchpad McQuack, also, how much are you going to take from the old cartoon and from the new cartoon? What is the blend there?
So I like the new cartoon.
I've not
What
seen
I
the old
think-
one, but I love the new one, so I'm curious.
The new one's good. I am a much bigger fan of the old one and the old series of, like, they came out with a couple movies and stuff like that, and those are certainly that is in my head what is there. We can certainly talk about blending of new and old. I like it better with a slightly more rustic, older feeling to it. 'Cause, the mansion should feel a little well worn at the very least, not like super plastic and stuff. There's like a vibrancy to the fake money stuff, but there's also like a underneath the surface, this is kind of a very lived in place. In terms of incorporating characters, the Huey, Dewey, and Louie obviously would be a part of this escape room idea that I have. They would be like the leaders of that. Launchpad, I imagine, being in this particular universe, Launchpad would be like the runner of the restaurant.
The lunch
Whatever
pad,
the restaurant is.
if you will.
I do, if you will. But, like, I imagine he takes us a center stage aesthetically for whatever that restaurant ends up being, whether it's the maitre d' or it's themed after him in some level.
Gotcha. So my other question is, people are paying thousands of dollars to go to a Disney park. They arrive at their hotel and it's covered in gold and dollar signs and saying, "Look at how much money we have." Also, I guess that's more of a statement. My follow-up is, how the hell do human beings swim in money?
I had written that down. I wanted to ask, this was going to be a serious question, how Eric envisioned.
No, I agree, because I think this is a super cool idea. I'm just curious how...
So I imagine it more like a ball pit. So it's not actually swimming in money. There's a very specific scene I have in my head where he gets on a diving board, bounces, and like jumps into his big pool of gold. This would be like a cushioned trampoline ball pit style experience.
Maybe like one of
where,
those
like,
foam pits.
Yeah, where like things look gold and are like flecked with it. So like there's a visual reflection, but there's absolutely no plastic or hard materials of any kind that they're actually running into.
Okay, so this is less of a pool and more of like, okay.
You should look up, and our listeners out there who might be curious should look up. There is lots of video on YouTube and stuff you can find on Google. At D23 in 2017, when they were getting ready to reboot DuckTales, they actually had a Scrooge McDuck gold thing set up. It looked like his bank vault, and it was made out of. It was full of the gold coins, but they were I don't know, like 8-9 inches across, and they were like the squishy like Nerf ball material, but they looked like gold coins, and they would let people like jump into it, and they would take your picture, and they had this really cool 3D camera system set up. Anyway, you should look into that because it sounds similar to what you're describing.
Yeah, I mean that's almost exactly what I want.
Yeah.
So take that and move
cool.
it to the hotel.
Right. Yeah.
I had another question for Eric, if you're good with that. The way you were describing your hotel, I was having a hard time picturing. Are you picturing this being like one solid building as a mansion? The way you're describing like wings and stuff, that's kind of what I was picturing, but I wanted to make sure I'm on the right page with that.
So I don't necessarily am married to one idea or the other. From what I would be married to is visually from the front, it would look like one thing. Once it got to the back, like once you're past like the front visual of that, there could be buildings behind it that are separated by walkways and wings and stuff if that becomes more practical for people flow and adding different things. But the only thing that I'm married to in that sense is the front picture, which looks like one giant mansion.
Okay.
However, that ends up manifesting moving further back into the resort is a different thing entirely.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Cool.
Tanner, as that transitions into a question I have for you, which is if we're talking about exteriors, what does the exterior of your resort look like? Is it like a head?
No. No, I'm picturing it as if you were already, like, when you pull up and you park, you're already immersed in, like, you're in the memory of stuff. Okay. So you would see, like, a mix of, like, the crazy structures that you see in, like, a headquarters building and things, but we wouldn't be, like, going into a child's head to get there.
That being said, who is the child? Because it sounds like it's not Riley.
I don't think I wasn't planning on having it be a specific named character. I feel like if you go in with this, it's better to keep it generic, which is why I wanted to redo the 5 like main lands that people would be staying in to make them less specific to just Riley, like hockey and Riley's family, like different things. Like I think the other ones that worked, some of them worked really well. Like the goofball, I think, is like a personality trait that would be well suited to a hotel area. So more coming up with things in that line than necessarily like Riley's family, because I don't think kids want to live in Riley's mind. I want it to work in a way where it can be a representative of child mind in general would be cooler for kids to things that would be similar to what's important to them and what they imagine.
Okay. My final question for Tanner is, if this isn't Riley's mind, are we going to use the characters from the film in any way? Because they are technically, this is a little nitpicky, specific to her, or are we just going to kind of say, it's still these characters, we're still using them, but it is just some mind?
From the movie, all of the people's personality traits kind of looked similar in color and aesthetic, so I think it'd be fine to use them, but they weren't going to be front and center in my resort in any major way.
You don't mean Sadness doesn't greet you at the door?
No. Maybe Sadness gets kicked out because she's annoying as hell.
No sadness here.
That's
only happy all the time.
Watching Sadness get dragged out by security.
Wait a minute, isn't that kind of the whole point of the movie?
What?
That you don't do that?
No, but Joy had a point. Theoretically, the way that the movie stuff works out, you don't need to feel sadness if we want to get into it.
Okay, good.
Sadness starts touching everything and makes it bad.
All right.
But no, I just think that like relying on the emotions too much is not where I think the most interesting parts of staying there would be. I think that leads into more of like the look further into possibly scary ideas of what it means for your mind. And
see, I'm picturing this as more like an expression of the imagination.
Yes.
than it is like the mind
Okay.
necessarily.
Yeah, so I think you have to have them somewhere where you can kind of see them and maybe pose for like a picture with either animatronics or statues of them, but most of it's going to be spent on the other parts of the world that are fun.
Brock, I have a question for you.
Yay, yes.
You pretty much covered everything, which is why I think you haven't been getting a lot of questions.
I assumed.
But one question that I do have is, since you specifically said that this would be on the Skyliner loop, did you envision a specific location for it?
I will be 100% honest with you. I don't actually know where the Skyliner
that's fine.
goes. I know it exists.
Okay.
That's about all I've got for you.
Okay.
He knows everything else.
That being said,
So what you're saying, Brock, is during our discussion period, it's going to be about figuring out where the Skyliner goes because everybody already knows everything else.
no. I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't with you guys. I'll be like, oh, here's a pretty cool idea. I want to discuss more. And they're like, oh, you don't have everything planned? And then I'm like, here's all my ideas. And they're like,
if he wants to stop rambling, I'd love to ask them, or he can just yell at us some more and see if that garners any votes.
Please, Tanner, I'd love to hear your questions.
The first one was, well, you answered the Nautilus one. What price level are you picturing this resort at? Because it sounds like a deluxe to me when you're talking a giant volcano.
Yeah, I mean,
on the Skyliner.
ideally,
Yeah.
I don't like how many deluxes that they're making, but it's gonna have to be. It's a huge, enormous landscaping thing. It's a lot of Imagineering going into this. I think it would end up having to be a deluxe.
Yeah, generally, the hotels that are as immersive as what you were describing have to end up being deluxe.
And
Sounds ambitious.
yeah, sounds ambitious. Also, though, I have a question. Is this Journey to the Center of the Earth bar or club thing that you pitched a little too similar to our beloved bar that we discussed last time? I just feel like you're resting on your laurels a little bit about ideas.
Well, that wasn't. I see the way I described it. How you could see that it's not just the bar or the club. It's all of that all those facilities that you get in a normal resort. I think most of those you could kind of centralize to a Journey of the Center of the Earth theme. I actually think if we're talking bars and clubs, this is a perfect opportunity to do some really cool, because it's a lush tropical island, to do something with that. And I think mixing that lush, so do it more, that the bars are going to be more outdoors, not tiki bars, but enjoying the environment. But I think a really cool restaurant or cafeteria would be underground, with the Journey to the Center of the Earth aesthetic. So yes, but also no. But to follow up on Jake's question, which I never did get to fully answer because I started yelling.
Do you need to know where? Do you care to know where the Skyliner goes, or do I need to?
I don't necessarily think it is a huge deal, because I think mainly what we're going to do is find a plot of land where we can create a huge water feature with an interesting river to make it seem like an island separated.
All right, so I think that just about wraps up our question portion, unless anybody else has any last minute things that they want to add.
The one thing I have to add is good luck, editor. If only someone wasn't yelling.
Yeah, and I think because of that, I think, not to step on you, Eric, but maybe he should vote first. What do you think?
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys are all allowed to throw tantrums, but Brock has one little fit.
It wasn't little.
Brock has one big fit. Okay, this is incredibly difficult. All of you bring some really cool stuff to the table. There's a few things with each of you as well that are really intriguing me as like how we can work that out together, which I also like. So this all being said, I think the thing that feels the most Disney to me, the most pure of an experience, is going to be the Toontown Resort. There are things that I disagree with Jake about that I look forward to discussing as well.
Okay. I didn't think I said anything controversial.
Motherfucker, we coming for you.
Brock, we don't have to put the swastikas on everything. We can get rid of that.
Okay,
Would it
good.
be a Brock vote if he didn't make sure that he knows that he has issues with our things, despite getting
I know. I'm just curious what he's so upset about because he seems
I
like
can't
really
vote
like
for the perfect thing.
No, because
in mind.
Jake keeps saying no costume characters, and it's pissing me off.
I agree, Brock. We will
Thank
have
you.
some words to say to Jake if that one
Yes.
wins.
If Jake wins, then it's not a hill he gets to die on.
Because you're so wrong.
fine.
Because you're so
Fine. If you
wrong
guys
about
want
that.
characters this fucking badly, fine, you do it. But guess what? The three of you are going to be in the costumes.
That's right.
Dibs on Daisy.
Jake, your vote is next.
Yeah, these are all really good ideas. Tanner, way to come in clutch with Inside Out there. I was surprised.
Yeah.
I was definitely expecting a joke pitch. Eric, the Scrooge McDuck, when I saw that on the sheet, I had no idea how you're going to make that work. It sounds like a cool, doable hotel.
Yeah.
All that being said, I am going to vote for Brock's Jules Verne experience because I think that sounds neat. I do have to say
He
it
has some
is a
problems.
little frustrating that they, f*** you and f*** your hotel, and I'm voting for it so that I can tear it apart.
Sorry, Jake, what were you saying? It's a little frustrating that...
That they keep making these insanely expensive
Yeah.
deluxe resorts. I remember when they announced the Star Wars resort, Pete Warner from the Diz Unplugged was shocked that people weren't excited about it. And finally somebody had to explain to him, it's like, because we're not going to be able to afford to
Yeah,
stay
no one's
there.
going to get to go, yeah.
Well, Jake, if it makes you feel better, nobody will be able to stay at Brock's hotel, even if it wins.
That's true.
True. So anyway, that's my vote.
Cool. Team AM.
Oh, Eric, you go first.
Okay. If you want me to.
Wait, it's that easy? You just have to whine?
No, I'll go first. I'm voting for Scrooge McDuck.
Okay. Happy to get a vote. Sad to know that I can't win. Okay. So since we finally broke Jake down and he agreed, even if it's us in the costumes, Toontown is an experience I want out. I want to visit that. I love all of them. Brock's, I think yours is fucking sweet.
It's coming back, don't worry.
Yeah.
We know it is.
I love what you've done, Tanner. Like that is the best representation of Inside Out in a resort.
No, f*** you.
When I think of what when I think of what I want out of staying at a Disney resort, it is pure Disneyana magic, and I think that the Toontown one encapsulates that in a. Are you confused when I say the word Disneyana?
Yes.
So like the 1950s, 1960s kind of like opening of Disneyland, turn of the like that kind of nostalgia driven stuff.
Brock, you didn't even know that word. Fool.
Your love of the whatever the that guy's name is very much rooted in like a Disneyana nostalgia.
That's true. It is.
So so I'm voting for Jake's Toontown. I think that's like I think that sounds like a really interesting place to start.
All right, cool.
All right.
Congratulations, Jake.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm very excited to talk about this. And before you guys lay into me, let me just make my statement here. So, my original reason for not wanting the characters was because it has not been done in any of the resorts, because it is a logistical nightmare. But that being said, all of the cruise ships, which are essentially floating hotels,
That was gonna be my argument.
have the characters wandering around on the ship. And it is a really cool experience when you are walking around on the ship or just sitting and all of a sudden Mickey Mouse comes up to you and just like interacts with you while you're walking around. Or they do that really cool thing with sleepwalking Goofy. Sometimes really late at night, if you're lucky, you will stumble across the Goofy, the guy in the Goofy costume, wearing pajamas with an eye mask over his eyes, sleepwalking like Frankenstein around the ship. It's cool. It's a very memorable, magical thing. Bringing this to a resort, I think would be awesome. I do agree with you guys. The only reason I was against it was because it seemed to me like it would be a logistical nightmare. But that's not what this podcast is about.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to... I was also going to bring up the cruise ships, but I think more than anything, with this podcast, literally, but it's also about doing things that haven't been done. And everything... Right. I mean, every time Disney makes a new resort, there's usually something about it that hasn't been done. So if you're going to do a Toontown podcast, Toontown resort in a Toontown podcast, it does feel like that is the perfect place to break that mold. So yeah, I'm glad that you've come to our side.
Yes.
The only true side.
Agreed.
Let's start with the different types of hotel rooms, because Jake originally pitched that it could be different styles. I think the first thing that he pitched two different versions of that. Now he pitched styles based on characters or just styles based on theming. I personally think the characters is a slightly stronger connection. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that's
for the
fair.
rooms, and I think there's ways
to
merge the two options. Sorry, Eric.
I agree.
That's what I find. I think starting with like a general color palette feel from each of the characters is strong. But I don't think that necessarily, like, you have green for Goofy, blue for Donald, red for Mickey, kind of thing like that. That you can build off from there, but I don't see any reason why we can't weave other aspects into that. But, from a way to just easily visually defining one area from another, you can kind of just use the color palette for it.
Well, Jake, the thing that you said that I'm kind of attaching to is when you were talking about the one option, it's like, oh, it could be a barn or it could be a thing, or you mentioned a couple things, but then when you were also talking about the characters, you mentioned, oh, for Donald we could have like a nautical sort of theme, and I'm thinking, you just merge those two. Donald, he lends himself to nautical boats. We can use some of your Sausalita ideas, which I know you really want to get in here, and then for our other characters, we just find a theme that matches their personality. And I mean, every single one of those people has done every possible job. So it's not that hard. So what do you guys think?
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I don't know necessarily, like, there's nothing that jumps out as obviously as nautical for Donald.
Yeah.
Goofy for the mismatch kind of thing I think is great. Mickey becomes a little trickier because he's occupied so many different roles over the years.
Right.
But there's certainly something that we could do for all of them.
Goofy in the barn, like the Barnstormer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or Horace Horsecollar in the barn.
Oh, get the fuck
because he's a horse.
So how many different zones do you imagine this having?
Well, so I mean, they vary, all right? And then you got to talk about if we're going to have very broad categories or if we're going to have the smaller categories. So, for example, and again, we can do our own thing, but just drawing from examples in real life, at the resort Port Orleans. Port Orleans is divided into two major sections. You have Port Orleans Riverside and Port Orleans French Quarter. And then Riverside is divided into two subsections. You have Port Orleans... Brock, help me. What's the
there's
bayou
Alligator
called?
Bayou.
Yeah, Alligator Bayou. And then you have the mansions, which are called Magnolia Bend.
Magnolia Bend.
So we could do sections like that. Or at Caribbean Beach, they have smaller sections and they have a lot more of them, where each section only is comprised of 2 or 3 buildings, and each one is after a different island, like Jamaica, I specifically remember was one that we stayed in. So what way do we think we want to go? Do we want to have some big sections that have a lot of different buildings, or do we want to have smaller sections that have 2 or 3 buildings tops?
I'm personally thinking the Caribbean Beach way. We have smaller sections, and that way we can do a lot more varied and interesting theming, personally.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah, okay. That works for me. Yeah.
It's a lot of different themes and different colors, and it makes it feel more like a town.
Right. And I like the idea. I'm thinking, because at these resorts, they always have, sidewalks that wind around and go through them. I was thinking it might be cool if these big wide sidewalks looked kind of like a road.
Yeah,
And they had like the big cartoony lines painted on them, and they connected all the sections together like a big highway almost. And you could walk or ride bikes through to each thing. And maybe that could help us kind of set it up like a town. Maybe the closer you are to the entrance where the city hall is more like I always say this wrong. Not rural.
Urban?
What's the opposite of rural? Urban is a little bit more urban based, and then the farther you get is a little more rural based. The rural
I like
juror.
that.
That's neat.
And we can set it up in different sections. Like we could have like a port, and we could have like a post office, and like dining, like a little mini mall dining thing.
Right. And to steal an idea from Tanner, kind of, I think it would be cool to have a dedicated movie theater.
yeah.
You talked about having a theater
Yeah, I
for
like
movie
that.
night.
Yeah.
And have it very stylized, maybe have like a popcorn machine at the beginning, but it's a big, oversized, very, magical looking
In
one.
the House of Mouse cartoon, Horace Horsecollar ran the projector.
Oh my God. Brock, we can put Horace running projector. There. Are you happy?
No,
I quit.
I'm deeply sad.
So another thing I thought of when we were talking about the road, not to get away from our sections too much, but I want to say this before I forget it, is it might be cool if scattered along this road, we at various points had characters' cars.
I was literally
when
going
you
to
go
say that.
Toontown
Oh, that's so
Disneyland,
fun.
they have their cars in the driveway. And maybe we could kind of steal from Disneyland too. Goofy's car is crashed into his mailbox. Maybe Goofy's car is somewhere like crashed into a tree, or it's like off the road.
Yeah, and Max is dead
know?
in the passenger seat.
A fire hydrant with a water feature, like shooting up into the sky, would be fun.
Yeah, the radiator is, yes, I think stuff like that would be pretty neat. But I also, now I don't know the legality of this, but it might be cool too to dress up like the fire hydrants around the resort, make them look a little more cartoony. I don't know what the official rules are if you're allowed to do that, but just little details like that.
I think you can.
I think would be really cool.
If anyone
to do.
can
I
bend the
imagine
rules,
as long as they work.
it's Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. That's super cool. So I think maybe what we should do is figure out which characters we're going to represent to what themes throughout the resort. So,
I think starting with an obvious one, Donald would be more like nautical or with a port.
I think personally, Mickey, I don't know if he necessarily needs an area. He could be like the mayor, and therefore all of the like facilities and center stuff at Town Square is all Mickey's domain,
Right. And that being said, that's actually good because I have found, or not I have found, but I think Disney has found it's hard to do things where you pick characters because a lot of people want Mickey.
Yeah.
And it makes it difficult when everybody wants Mickey.
Yeah.
So he might be a good one that doesn't have a section.
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
Yeah. I like him as the mayor of Toontown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems fine.
Yeah.
I think a slightly less obvious one, characters that we might have a hard time with later.
If you say Horace Horsecollar one more
I
time,
was not.
you're out
I
of
was
this
not.
podcast.
I was not. I was going to say in recent years, Daisy has been kind of like a fashion maven. She's so like if you put her in like a shopping area, could be fun. Breaking those stereotypes.
Not to be stereotypical or anything, but that does fit in line with Daisy's character.
Yeah.
Of who Daisy is. That's something she does. Something she likes to do.
Something that might also be cool, and I don't know exactly which character we'd match this to, but like a gardens, like a greenhouse aesthetic kind of thing. I'm just pitching here, guys.
Yeah, no, I know. I was trying to think of who that might be.
Yeah. Could be Minnie.
Well, I'm wondering if maybe the actual hotel where you stay, the sections where those are not based after the main people. And the main people are like the shopping or the check-in or the pool or the dining. And that's where we get our main people.
Is just like the hotel is part of this town.
Yeah.
And the town being the resort.
Right.
And the hotel has like its own theming, like that's like aesthetically resonant with the rest of the town, but isn't necessarily character specific.
And then the character specific is the okay.
Yeah, I think that's cool.
Yeah.
It also allows us,
Yeah.
a little more leeway there.
Right, it makes it a little easier for us to work with, I think.
Yeah.
So that being said, we could have Donald could be representative of the pool, maybe.
Yeah.
Daisy could be the shopping and the gift shops and everything. Minnie could be the restaurant, because in a lot of the shorts she's always cooking stuff. We talked about
Very
Mickey
progressive of you,
Breaking
Jake.
stereotypes, yeah.
She is. Okay, fine. I just thought my thought was it'd be cool if Minnie owned a restaurant. That's what I thought would be cool. But
And then Pete's the head cook.
Only if
and
he
then
eats a
this is
carrot.
kind of this one is an obvious choice that Disney has already done on the cruise ships, but maybe it works here too. Is on the cruise ships, all of the sports area is themed to Goofy because of the Goofy how-to sports shorts.
Oh yeah,
So maybe that would be good at the resort, too.
I think so
don't
too.
know.
Yeah, because those are just so funny.
Yeah.
I think it would also be a perfect opportunity to take the things that they got rid of from the original Toontown. So like the tour of their houses. We could have their houses represented in this Toontown. Maybe not make it quite as much of an attraction, but having their
Right.
houses there is fun. Because in the previous version where we each in their little separate section, I didn't know if there was room for that. But now it feels like they actually live in this town.
Right. Yeah, I think that would be cool.
I
Okay,
agree.
so that's awesome. So now we know what sections the characters are working with. Basically, what their theming is for each of the facilities. What is the hotel like?
So I think the actual hotel, again, I was talking about the layout with the moderate, where you typically get a 2-story building that has a lot of rooms.
Yeah.
It's usually in a Y shape. It's like a triangle. It's hard to explain. It's like the letter Y. I don't know if we necessarily need to do that shape, but I think we could kind of stick to that shape and just theme them to fit their little areas. And like we said, the further you get out in the circle, the more rural it becomes, and then as you come back around, it's urban again. But then we could have maybe the ones closer to the town look more like loft spaces, like shops underneath and then lofts on the top, kind of a thing. Just I'm thinking from an exterior point of view. And then as you get further away, it's a little bit more like suburban. You have your little more like houses kind of looking
Picket
thing, with little
fence,
mailboxes
yeah.
out front, picket fence. Yeah, exactly. Kind of more like Mickey's house. And maybe that's where Mickey's house is. Maybe it's in that area toward the middle. That would actually kind of make sense now that I'm saying it. And then your furthest one, we would have it, maybe it looks like a barn or a little farmhouse. It has a silo, that kind of thing, a windmill.
Yeah, I like that.
A cornfield that you can go hang out in.
Yeah. Seriously, though, what if there was a little corn maze? Just something extra and fun, you know?
Yeah, I was being
I like
serious,
that.
guys.
That'd be kind of cool. Yeah, we could do a corn maze.
Yeah, for sure.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what I love about like the town setup is it's very easy to theme per like time of year, right? Like easy to set it up for Halloween, easy to set up for Christmas.
Yeah.
And that is a huge part of visiting Disney at any one of those times of year, right? So I think that's super cool.
Yeah, and then I think what's really cool about this idea is bringing it back to the costume characters. We have these main characters represented, but, and I'm not going to say the name, you guys will all yell at me, I do think it's cool when occasionally you see more obscure characters in the Disney parks in costume characters. This would be a fun place to occasionally see a more obscure character.
Like Pete or Max Goof.
Like
ones
Pete
that people
or Max
like,
or
but
Oswald.
definitely not Horace Horsecollar because he sucks and he's not Mickey's friend anymore.
But also, that aside, we could also have like Clarabelle Cow.
Yeah.
Or we could have.
Put her over with Horace.
Did you say Oswald
She's
the
outta
Lucky
here.
Rabbit, Brock? Did I hear you say Oswald?
Yeah, Oswald.
Oswald.
Oswald's lady, Hortensia the cat.
So yeah, I think that would be cool to see characters out and about like they are on the ships.
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool idea. I'm glad you guys pushed hard for that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jake.
You're welcome.
I'm glad that you acquiesced. Yes. And with the pool, you can get a lot of cool, like, coming down a water slide off of a steamboat, shit like that.
Yeah. You could have Steamboat Willie in the pool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Amazing. Eric, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's what happens when you do research in the middle of an episode.
Well, it's not like we're going to do it before.
I didn't know. Yeah, I wasn't sure.
So I was thinking something that could be cool in like a club type setting. I don't know what character this would be, if it would be a character, but if they did like a piano bar, I know they have piano bars already at Disney, but if they had a piano bar, I think it would be really neat to have a very cartoony looking piano. And you could make a fake piano shell and put a digital keyboard in it. In fact, that's how they do it on the cruise ships. Those are not actually baby grands that they use on the ships. But if you made the shell so it looks really cartoony, and I think it would also be cool if they put it on, I don't know if like hydraulics or springboards so that it rocks while the player is playing and just has that real cartoony look of like, while the guy's playing, the piano is rocking with them. That's something you see in the cartoons. I think that'd be really cool to experience in real life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just a little extra touch of magic.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we don't need to get into all of it, but that's a perfect example of we would be able to do dozens of those types of things, those animated type movements to things that inanimate objects, that make it feel like a cartoon, make it feel like the world is alive. I would love to see some of those trees from in the old classic Disney cartoons. The trees had a very specific way of moving in the wind. I don't know what it is, but if we could somehow make
they
animatronic
like
trees.
cattails.
What's
like
that?
If you see cattails in real life, the plant cattails when the wind hits them, that's kind of how the old Disney trees moved.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be interesting to see stuff like that.
Yeah.
I agree.
I'm loving this idea as like a fully fleshed out Disney town. The characters are around, it's living, it's breathing.
Yeah.
It expresses some of this cartoon functionality. None of the lines are straight. They're all wavy or rounded to an idea.
Right.
And you kind of capture that throughout like ways to make the trees move. I think it's sweet. I think it's a hell of a resort.
I agree.
Yeah. That's talking about those straight lines. I was looking at this earlier today. For anybody who has not recently been in Toontown, which I don't think is anybody because it's been closed for a year. So nobody's been in it recently. Go ahead and look up Mickey's house on YouTube or on Google, and you can find walkthroughs of it. And there is not a single straight line in that house. Every single line is wavy or curved, and it gives a great cartoon feel, like Eric was just mentioning. I think that's a really cool thing to bring to this.
Yeah, it's awesome. So we've talked the aesthetic, we've talked the actual resort room living experience. Now we should talk about the amenities. Sure. We've talked about the pool. But what type of restaurant or cafeteria are we going to have? Things like that.
I like the idea of having, a good one. Absolutely. I think we need at least one counter service type restaurant for the people who are looking for a quick meal. And I think we need at least one sit down restaurant.
Usually Disney resorts have that sort of cafeteria style where there's a bunch of different stations, counter service. You get all your stuff, you go to the cash register, you pay for it. I think that would be a fun food court where each of the different stations, it's like a character's thing, So like Pete might be selling barbecue and Minnie might be selling salads because that's how sexism works.
Thank you for that.
Oh, I love it.
I don't make the world, I just live in it.
Well, it could maybe because like Mickey has a garden in Disneyland behind his house, so maybe the salads and stuff are fresh from Mickey's garden.
Yeah.
or something like that. I like that.
Yeah.
But I like the different stations being themed after different characters from Toontown.
Yeah.
That's neat. Maybe there's a Horace one where they give you horse meat. It's cheaper than beef, so that would.
That being said, Horace would be good for like country cooking, like
Right, yeah.
cornbread and
Beans.
Yeah,
Cornbread and beans.
cornbread and beans.
Lard. Whiskey and lard. The four main food groups. Yeah, I like that. And then for the sit-down restaurant, if we're ready to discuss that. So I originally had said I would like it to be Minnie, and part of where that came from is in these new shorts. Yes, I know I said she's always cooking something, but there is an episode where it's Minnie and Daisy and Clarabelle Cow. I don't know.
That's a really funny short.
Right, where they're trying to get into this fancy restaurant where they made reservations, and the maitre d' is this really snobby flamingo, and he keeps kicking them out because they don't look good enough to be in his restaurant. And I thought it would be cool if it was kind of like, because in the end of the short, they kick him out, and then they get in anyway. And I thought, what if this is like kind of after that, and it's like that restaurant, but now Minnie owns it. And like, so it's still a fancy restaurant, but it's like Minnie has taken it over, and like this is how Minnie is going to run this fancy restaurant now. So it's got this hint of class still, because that's what Minnie is. She's very classy, but it's also very family friendly and someplace that you can feel
goofy,
relaxed.
A little bit silly,
Yeah,
I should
and
say.
silly. Yeah. So that's what I would like to see for this sit-down restaurant. And then this would also be a great place to do character dining.
Yeah,
I
for
think.
sure.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, you would need the character dining part of the experience for sure at a place like this, because they're walking around too, man.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Why wouldn't they be dining?
They're everywhere.
So is there anything else we think we need to cover with this hotel? It's hard to do hotels because they're such a big thing.
Yeah.
It's hard to really sum everything up. I mean, I could happily talk about this hotel for days.
I like the idea of like the lobby area being the city hall or town hall rather.
Yeah.
Other than that, I can't think of much. Anything else, you guys?
No, I'm good.
No, I think they're great.
All right.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm actually super proud of this idea, and you guys really helped to develop it, and I think we came up with something really cool. So thank you very much.
Yeah, this is an awesome,
Thank you, Jake.
awesome
I thought
hotel.
it was excellent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Once you got out of that insane idea that we wouldn't have walk around characters, it really came together.
Like I said, I'm glad you talked me out of it. I'm glad. So now, from one great idea to 4 ideas, it's time for lightning round.
Lightning round.
Crash, boom, bang, baby. All right, let's spin this wheel. Spinnity, 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 spin, 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 spin. Okay. We have a restaurant. We haven't talked about restaurants very much. And this restaurant will be themed to one of the most recent Pixar movies. Not the most recent, one of the most recent. Onward. We need to pitch an Onward restaurant.
Can we make a rule that no one's allowed to pitch the Minotaur's Tavern?
That's fine. No Minotaur's Tavern.
Up first today is Tanner.
T-Money.
All right, so my dining experience is going to be sitting down for a nice family dinner with the Lightfoot. So we're going to have family-style food served in their home, just hanging together. We're a family. We're going to be happy. It's going to be pleasant. We'll get all the food will be kind of like regular food, but altered so it looks more fantasy. And that's my idea. Thanks. I haven't seen
I like how
the
Tanner
movie.
replaced it wacky fun with pleasant.
Okay. You haven't seen it yet?
No, I need to.
It's good.
Oh. Well, sorry,
It's
Tanner.
very good.
I mean, I think I did all right.
it's
I was
me
hoping
next.
that
Yeah, no,
Brock
you
wouldn't
did
be like,
fine.
actually, the Lightfoot family all hate each other and killed each other.
Oh, by the end of the movie, they're all dead.
I was wondering why you didn't talk about like magical things happening at dinner while you were eating.
well, I said
but
all sorts
get
of
it now.
fantasy things would be themed the food.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right.
All right, and it's my turn. So my restaurant idea is Barley is leading us through a game of Dungeons and Dragons. It's sort of like an interactive dinner theater kind of thing. So he's going around playing cards and making magical like he'll play like a fireball will shoot across the ceiling, and it'll just be a fun night where we get to hang out with Chris Pratt and do a bunch of cool D&D shit.
All right.
That's my
And there's
pitch.
food?
Nice.
Yeah, there's totally food.
I assume you. I'm gonna assume. Oh yeah, you didn't mention the.
I was going to say, he basically pitched just playing D&D with Chris Pratt.
Also, it's not
did
D&D
say-
in the movie. I assume you meant the version from the movie, but I'm not sure.
Obviously, I meant the version from the movie. In my defense, at the very beginning, I did say it was like a dinner theater experience.
Okay.
Good job. It sounds fun.
Thank you.
I'm just
Tanner.
picturing eating like D&D snacks for dinner. You get potato chips and shit.
All right, Jake.
All right. So, my idea is one day this guy is walking down the street and he encounters the giant cheese puff from the movie. So he drags it home and he turns it into a food stand. He hollows it out and now we have the giant cheese puff and he sells food out of it. He sells cheese snacks and cheese puffs and other cheese-based snacks, and it's a snack stand. Did I mention it's a hollowed out cheese puff that is a snack stand? Okay, good. I think that's my time right about now. Thank you.
I like how instead of going into more detail about what type of cheesy snacks you could have, you were like, I'll just say right about now.
I was panicking. Oh, I just had another idea. Damn it. Okay.
All right. So,
Brock,
oh,
yeah.
I already. Okay, I'm just gonna start again. So my restaurant takes. Okay, and starting again. So the idea of my restaurant takes place after the events of the movie, when magic is slowly coming back in New Mushroomton. So it's a nice restaurant in New Mushroomton. You visit, of course, like you do a restaurant. My timer didn't start, so I'm starting it now.
Oh my God, Brock!
But essentially, it's food preparation mixed with their new magic. So they do give us giant food, interesting things like that, and it's all going to be fantastical food. But of course, I'm kind of picturing a sort of a teppanyaki type thing where they're using magic to show you how they're preparing food. Obviously, that's going to be a lot of show elements, but I think showing us magic in that context is neat. I took like 40 seconds, but can you cut the first 10 seconds? Because it was me panicking that my timer hadn't started.
We all know that's not how this works.
I blame you fuckers because you kept making me restart. It worked the first 2 times.
Psychological warfare, Brock.
All right, Brock, I think we have finished this episode, so why don't you take us out of here?
All righty. Jake, if you're done with that Facebook, be sure to leave it on the floor and housekeeping will pick up after you.
Facebook.com/Main Street Musings.
Tanner, if you're using the minibar, the Instagram costs extra.
I'll pay extra for main_street_musings. Way to retread on last episode.
Eric, I don't remember what I did last time. Eric, be sure to check out our amenities, our pool, our weight room, our Instagram.
No.
Our Instagram is main_street_musings.
I mean, our Twitter. Damn it. Our pool, our weight room, our Twitter.
Right this way to @MSM_podcast.
Nice.
And I'm Brock. Everyone, make sure to tell your friends, leave us a review, and give us a 5-star rating. 5 Michelin stars, baby.
Like a 5-star hotel. Nice.
Bye.
Well,
Nice. Bye.
too bad Disney won't make this happen.
Oh, it doesn't count if you say it for yourself, Jake.
No, I meant about all of your lightning round pitches.
Thanks, man.
No, thank goodness.